Yo, JD here, Limitless, and we are back with some more league racing, and this is Inside Line Racing League at Monza, Temple of Speed, and we're in the Force India, or the racing point as you so call it, and you can see a little bit of freezes there. It's probably down to the stream, not the video itself. And coming into this one, I was actually reasonably confident. There's no one stop, well, no one shot qualifying here at all. So we're going on the soft tyres for about 4 runs each time. I validated my first run, but this is the start of my fastest one. And changed my camera settings, which are down in the description, along with my force feedback and everything as well. So if you want to use these, then feel free to check it out and use them. We're going into someone here, braking very, very hard, carrying a lot of speed. You really need to hook the right side of the car over the curb because it really just drags you around. Now completely flat out for this right-hander going to overtake, before going back down to high at the end of this little mini straight. Completing the first sector, we do a 25.6, which is a pretty good. Making sure you go over both of these curbs, it's absolutely crucial that you do that. And now going into the first Lesmo, a little bit of a late apex, so first sector very good, made a little bit of an error there, but have a very good exit off this corner now. So the first one was not ideal, but the second one got a very good exit, and that's very important coming up to Ascari, probably the hardest corner on the track. As we go through this, could have took a bit more curb, which actually compromises my line ever so slightly, but coming off the exit was not too bad. But you can see the shake of the head I did there, I wasn't really too happy about it. It didn't really feel good. The lap didn't feel insane apart from the first sector. The rest of the lap didn't feel particularly great so far. And now coming out of the last corner, Parabolica, going up towards the line, we do an 18.4, which puts me provisionally on pole, which I couldn't believe. Going into my last run, I couldn't really improve. I made a little mistake, but that puts me 0.011 away from Veloce Surprise in P1. 3 people on an 18.4. So you can see the sectors. If I match those sectors, my best second sector and best first sector together, that would have been pole. That would have been a 0.2 or something like that, which in my last video I did a 0.3 in Grand Prix mode. So I feel really good actually being back at the front again. I've kind of taken some time away to really work on my qualifying, and it's good that it's paying off. And for the race itself, I was feeling really, really good coming into this one. So now we've got 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. It's crucial we get a good start now as the lights go out. And Syra, Visar, who we out-qualified, he gets an insane start. That traction, I know he's on the controller. The controller does have slight inbuilt traction control. That has been confirmed, but nonetheless, it just gets an insane start. This is crazy how good start he gets. So we've been demoted down to P4, but since we qualified up the front, we are still in a chance of winning this race. And the pace I was doing in practice against the likes of Infamous and Syra and people like that, it was really, really promising. And normally my race pace is actually quicker than the qualifying pace most of the time. So being in this position, we're pretty much in a perfect position. So not having any crashes, not being mid-pack or anything, we're actually at the front now. As Surprise, doing what he usually does, is trying to get away. But on this game, ERS management is so crucial, and around this track, you really can't afford to go higher than high on the ERS mode 3. If you go higher than mode 3 for maybe a couple laps in a row, you're going to be pretty critical. And if you get down to 20%, that's when you actually start losing a bit of power. So you can see, noticing here, I'm actually going back down to no ERS almost halfway down the straight. I'm just trying to conserve it as much as possible. But so far, getting a little bit into the rhythm of this race. Not a great first lap in terms of driving, how I was feeling. I just need to get a little bit more warmed up. But I was pretty confident we weren't going to let Surprise get away, because it's just literally impossible around here unless you get like a 2-second lead or something. We're going on to lap 4 now. Staying with the leaders pretty well. Got a nice little buffer, so I managed to pull away from the guys behind of Leopard, my teammate, everyone like that. And this is crucial now. I need to stay in the DRS. You can see I am in the DRS zone, but I'm not right up behind them. You don't really get a slipstream unless you're about a car length behind them. So I have the benefit of DRS, but you really do need to be tucked up right behind them, and it's quite hard for me to get close because although I have DRS, I'm not actually getting the slipstream at this point at all. All I'm getting is just that extra speed, but the guys ahead are actually getting extra speed as they're overtaking each other, and that's really kind of a strategy for this track, and sadly, in a way, this game, you really want to be staying behind someone and then just harvesting your ERS and fuel, overtake them, drag them along with you as you use your ERS, then let them back pass, and then you basically doing that kind of tactic. You can kind of use it to really get away from the guys behind you, because as you're pushing on for a lap, the guy behind can save, then you switch to next lap, then he can push on, then you can save, and if you're not in the DRS zone of those cars ahead who are doing that tactic, it's almost impossible to catch them. They're just gaining so much speed whilst you have to use all of your ERS. Since you don't have DRS or the slipstream, you're going to have to be expending all your ERS, and just beating them on raw pace when they've got a slipstream DRS is almost impossible. But you can see here now I started to get into the rhythm of this race. Got a big gap behind us, so the top 4 here are doing some really good pace, and you can see here again, using no ERS, just not using it as much as possible. It really do hurt yourself here, and I felt quicker than Infamous at this point, and we start to close in on Veloce Surprise again. So as I was saying before, unless you've got like a 2-second lead or something, and the guys behind are DRSing and switching places, you're pretty likely going to be catching. You can use that to really catch the guy in front, and it's a very big tactic. And we almost lose the car there as Infamous goes into the pits, and I think I actually triggered him going to the pits, because I think he thought I was going into the pits, but I wasn't. I almost just lost the car, and now I've got to push very hard here. And the in-lap was a pretty good in-lap, didn't really lose much time at all. As we're going out wide, so the tyres are slowly starting to go off, and I decided to follow him in. I didn't decide to go for an overcut, which I sometimes do, but this time I thought, you know what, just do the same strategy as them. I can't really afford to be undercutted by Infamous, VSR Infamous, too much, and we will be having fresher tyres in a minute. It's pretty touch and go to the end of the race on the soft to the medium tyre here. Some people elect to go for the hards, but really medium is probably the best one to go, as long as you can make it to like lap 9 or something like that. As we come out the pits now, we're looking for that Ferrari. Let's see where he is, and he just gets ahead of me. But now this is crucial. I have to stay in the DRS zone, as I said before. I have to. So now I'm going to be expending that energy that I've luckily saved. I haven't really got that much fuel left, but I have got some ERS left, and now we're going to put into overtake, and it's crucial. I have to stay in the DRS zone of these guys now, and they're not really going to be battling too much. My tyres are still going to be relatively cold, but it's going to be the same for Syra and Veloce Surprise, and I had a good first chicane there, so that's pretty good. And again, got a gap to the guys behind, who I think pitted, I think the lap before or something, but we have at the very least the same amount of wear on our tyres, and we've gotten the DRS zone, so that is crucial. We had to stay within the DRS here, and you can see going down to high, back down to none. You can see 70 to 40% in pretty much a sector if you're really pushing it, so it's very difficult. And now it's really like a game of chess, so we can stay within this group here, but I ideally want to be closer to where I am. As I said, you don't really get the benefit of slipstream unless you're about a car length behind, or maybe car length and a half at max, but at this distance the only benefit I'm getting right now is just DRS, which is really not enough because they've got the DRS in the car's head, so I need to be getting on the back of them pretty quickly. Setting a purple middle sector, you can see using high again down to 30.28. You can see how thirsty the ERS is around here. It's absolutely crazy. Needing to hook this curb, but we are in the DRS zone, but I'm having to work hard here because there's no DRS here. I'm having to work hard to just stay in this group, but I think if I could just do that, it'd just be so beneficial. So we're just going to stay on board with this lap, going through the first chicane now, and Infamous has actually gone out wide and he has lost the position, and that is kind of, well, that's gifted me the net P3 in this race. But now I don't actually have DRS. Let's see if I get DRS on Syra, and I don't get DRS. He has got DRS on Veloce Surprise, and honestly, I'm on 30%. I was on 70% a lap ago, and hardly using over mode 3 in the ERS. We've lost so much of it, so it's just crucial around here. So I was really kind of gambling, and you can see how much I'm trying to overdrive the car just to get within the DRS zone, because I know how crucial it is. Infamous has dropped about 1.7 seconds behind me with that incident, and let's see again, going through Parabolica, slightly wide but getting a pretty good exit. And let's see what happens here. Let's see, are they going to do the DRS switch? I'm pretty confident that will. So Syra is the car behind. He now overtakes for Lot Chase Surprise. And this is the tactic really around this track. Syra has now overtaken him, so he's got some ERS saved because he's been behind Surprise. Surprise can now save, and then the next lap, Surprise is most likely just go overtake him. And that basically means that both of them, every 2 laps, are really just going to not really use any ERS of fuel, whilst I'm having to use everything. You can see we're down to 20% now. That incident that Infamous had has really kind of cost me in a way, because I no longer have the DRS at all. So take a shot every time I say DRS if you want to know, by the way. But yeah, it has really hurt me. And look, see, Surprise is right up behind him now, or within the DRS of him, and he's probably got quite a lot in store here, but I'm having to push quite a bit to just even stay in contention. But luckily we've got a little bit of traffic coming up for the guys on the mediums who haven't pitted. Yes, so I'm really kind of banking on that now. But yeah, this is not a good position, and unless these guys start battling massively, it's going to be very hard to, even if you're quick on raw pace, it's going to be almost impossible, because Surprise now is going to be right up behind Syra, as you can see here. And let's see if they do the switch again. I think they're going to be overtaken. I think even Syra has got, he's done 21.6, and he's got DRS on the guy who he is lapping, or not lapping, but just overtaking now. And we move on to lap 17. Let's see what the gap is. The gap's about 3.4 seconds, so I've had to really just conserve it as much as possible. We actually pulled away from VSR Infamous now, and again you can see not going above mode 3 at all, just cannot afford to do that. And yeah, the leaders, they keep on switching every time, which I think we're going to see. If you look at the minimap, it's Syra in the lead, and this is what was happening every lap. So he's in the lead, Surprise then overtakes him, then Syra can then start saving some ERS, and then Syra will most likely overtake him next lap. And as I was saying on again, and what I'm really banging on about, with this tactic, you're pretty much not using any ERS. You can just afford to save it and your tyres, and you'll be able to see this by the gap now. And again, we're looking at the minimap, then Syra then overtakes, because lots of Surprise, he's most likely just going down to no ERS, lean mix, and they can just keep on using it to really just drag each other along. That's really the tactic. It's kind of like what you do in karting when you're pushing someone. It's pretty much the same thing. And again, on the next few laps, they're making the switch once again, so they're not actually racing hard, they're just using each other to drag each other forward, which means they are pulling away from myself and Infamous, when I think at the start of the race we all had a pretty equal pace. And yeah, it's almost impossible. But going on to the last lap now, nothing really too much happened after that. They just kept on pulling away with that tactic. Infamous started to close in ever so slightly, because he had a 3-second penalty, and I really was being careful with my track limits, and because I think at this stage I actually have a penalty myself. It's Surprise who crosses the line and wins the race. We're coming across the line now, and honestly, a bit of a shame, because I think if we hadn't lost the DRS, we could have been fighting with those guys for the win. I think the pace was good, the qualifying was really good. Didn't really make any mistakes this race. It's a little bit unfortunate that we just lost touch of them, but yeah, I think I did the absolute maximum I could really do in this situation. So a pretty almost really uneventful race, but it's very nice to be back on the podium again. After a downer of some bad league races, it's nice to really be on pace and just being fighting in contention at the very least. So hoping to keep it consistent. I will be showing the standings as they are updated. I'm not sure if they are at this point. If they are, you'll see them on the screen in a few seconds. But again, thank you so much for supporting me. My next league race is actually going to be on Monday, because it's a break week this Friday. So looking forward to that one. And as always, thank you so much. Peace.